spaghetti. Put down those cell phones. Woo! I'm gonna take off these old headphones and just go natural. These things are these are the original set of headphones. Probably the first pair of headphones that were ever made available to the public. Made by the Nathaniel Baldwin Company in Salt Lake City, Utah. I just love these old things that were made in America. He took out a patent in May 10th, 1910, and he changed the model in September 14th, 1915. These things are just heavy. They're magnets, and it's just got this old canvas strap that was sewn by, no doubt, some ladies in a factory in Salt Lake City, Utah. And the the fasteners on this thing are just as secure as the day they made them as they put them together. And I just, if we do nothing else today, we just marvel at this old American ingenuity and the concept of customization. Yeah, I just wish you could see this. I want to get this a little closer. Look look at the fastener. Both sides of this headset are, first of all, they're attached to the plastic with a small rivet that somehow since 1910 has stayed on this piece of Bakelite. They're very heavy, and they these metal fasteners join. This is one piece of metal that splits in the middle, and it joins, and just the the headrest kind of rides up and down on this little pin here, and it's as tight and secure probably as the day it was made. And I was thinking about this on the way to the radio station today, this concept of customization and how we can live very practically, or we can live artistically. And one of the ways to live artistically in our own home is to have things made for us, have things made for our size. Um, if we want to have, it can be anything from a toilet seat to a coffee cup. If your coffee cup doesn't fit your hand, there's a person in your town who probably is a potter or a metalsmith, and he or she can make one for you. You give a local person a job, and it helps you enjoy just getting through your day on a small basis because you know nobody else has that cup like you. Um, Good morning. I'm Walter Parks, coming to you from the studio of WPVM 103.7 in Asheville, North Carolina. This is my first brick and mortar studio appearance ever for this Sunday show that I do called Hymns and Hollers. Um, the the technical name for the sign in is WPVM LP Asheville. Now we're legal. If you want to find us online, and you probably have because you're with me right now, but it is WPVMFM.org. And I think that will, yeah, everything's sounding good. We're getting some comments coming in, and that's wonderful. That first little bit was a edited version of a song I wrote a while back for Swamp Cabbage called Kilowatt. And when the clock said, I went on at 10 a.m. Eastern, and when the clock was about 9:58, I thought to myself, I should do, this is my perfect opportunity to do Kilowatt. And so I gave you a little piece of that. The story behind Kilowatt is a man had soiled his concept of himself in a nightclub on a Saturday evening, and he wanted to, I think he had probably been unfaithful or something like that. And this is my story, so I shouldn't say it, or something like that. He had he had he had not resisted temptation, and his morals had slipped from the evening before. And in uh, when he was out at one of the when he was in the night, and so in the morning he felt so bad about himself. He needed to be redeemed in some way. So he drove around through the country, and lo and behold, he found a little cinder block radio station, and it was WORD, and it was a gospel radio station. Whereupon he just bursted in, and he found the turntables were unattended. There was one turntable that was spinning, and it was going out over the airwaves like I am right now. But he heard a toilet flush in the room, so the DJ in that little cinder block radio station, WORD, the DJ had taken a toilet break, and here we are. He's just on automatic pilot, and the radio's playing some gospel song, and this man, in his redemptive moment, grabs the live microphone like I have right here, and he gets real close, and he starts preaching. People out there listening on the radio, I'm buzzing through these kilowatts to let you know the Lord, he gave you love, so take it. You don't need no cell phone to make it. That kind of thing. So if you want the full song, just check out the first Swamp Cabbage record. It's called Honk. Maybe Margot can put that link up. Am I sounding okay today? This is so fun for me. I want to have my own little radio mixer. You know, it's interesting in life how it takes just the right situation, the right mentality to be able to access information somehow and be okay with what comes to you. And sometimes we're just blocked. We can't take it in. I can operate a 32-channel mixing board with gazillions of knobs and EQs and buses. Those are just little sidelines that go to other signal. I can operate all of that and more. But I've always been intimidated by a radio station mixer. And yesterday when I came in to give a little sound check, I just looked at this and I thought, this is the simplest thing that I've ever seen in my life. And I don't mean that in a condescending way, but for some reason my mind was open to it. And maybe I just had a lot of water, plenty of water, because I think water does help the mechanics of our brain to work right. And I say mechanics because of the nerves, and there are moving parts in there. They're just very small, and we certainly can't see them. But they move more efficiently when we drink water. So that's my health lesson for the morning. But I think because I've been drinking plenty of water and taking my vitamins, as I do when I'm on the road, I was able to just make sense of this thing. And I'm a friend of it now, and I just can't wait to get one for myself. So this is an old board from the 70s, and I'm just having so much fun here. So I'm coming to you from Asheville, North Carolina. I was in this neck of the woods to do a film. I was an actor in kind of a short film, and my character was a photographer, and I got to use a Leica camera, and the Leica camera is a European, I think they're German or Austrian made devices, and I got to click that shutter many times when I was on camera, and advance the shutter, and then mess around a little bit with the aperture and all the little dials on the camera. It's a completely manual camera. It's an old M2 or an M3 or something like that. And it was just a delight to hear that the mechanics working in that Leica camera. And I don't even know how the pictures turned out that I took, but just to hear it function and to know that a person in a factory made sure that all those elements came together in a graceful, harmonious way, and that camera did not leave that factory until it passed muster. And some of the cameras that I was working with were made around the same time these headphones were made, and 1915, early 20s, and it got me to thinking. Some people don't even think about the process, about the inner workings of something. To me, it was, at least from here on out, the concept of taking a picture is going to be inextricable from the process of taking a picture. The, the, the way that camera sounds, the way the film advances, and so on. So I can just be practical through life and just get a camera to save an image, you know. And the best example would be something like this. Or I can get an old camera, a Leica camera, and enjoy every click and every film advance. Is life just this journey of practicality getting us from point A to point Z? Or are we entitled to enjoy some of that process? And I just can't imagine a life wherein at the end of it you say, well, I got from birth to going to the by and by, and I did it, rather than I enjoyed that process. Now I get it. In our lives, we can't enjoy every moment, and I'm not so naive as to think that that's possible. But we have the tools, and we have the blessing to at least give that a shot. And I think we owe it to ourselves. And I want to bring us back to this customization. Look at that. Look at the way that the and this happened because somebody designed this, and they went to a metalsmith and they said, I'm going to need these two sides joining in the middle in a graceful way. Now, I've seen modern headphones, and nothing that I've seen made since the 1950s looks as graceful as this. This is elegant, and it's just, it's magnificent. But anyway, there was an old song. What I try to do on Sunday mornings is hymns and hollers and spirituals and that kind of thing. This is one that comes from the slave story. And the concept of the song is that if a slave managed to escape a plantation in the southeastern, the deep south as we call it, Alabama or Mississippi, he or she would make their way to the Tombigbee River, which winds around and eventually makes its way up to the Tennessee River, which joins the Ohio River. If you crossed the Ohio River at the right time, and it would have to be frozen over, you could then walk into southern Illinois and your life changed. The challenge was this river, at some times, whereas in the big picture it ultimately runs north, but a lot of times in the river's path it will run south. You know, it kind of snakes around. So the song is called Follow the Drinking Gourd. Richie Havens used to play this, and I played with Richie for years. And by the way, this is Richie Havens' guitar. I brought it for this broadcast, and a lot of y'all who know my music know that I carry this thing around. This is a 1967, which predates Woodstock. He might have had it there as a spare, but I don't think this is the one he used in the movie. Anyway, Richie used to play this song, Follow the Drinking Gourd. The drinking gourd is a metaphor for the North Star. Now, what I would like for you all to help me with, why was it not enough for the song to say, just stay on the riverbank? Because I don't understand this, and I'm really reaching out to you all. If you could just write us right now, write me right now, and help me with this. The concept is keep your eye on that North Star and you'll be okay. But like I said, every now and then the river turns south. So what good does keeping your eye on the North Star do? It seems like that would just be confusing. Maybe I'm taking it too seriously. But at the end of the day, ultimately, maybe it's just symbolic for if you get north, you're going to find that freedom. Probably that's what it is. But anyway, there's a couple of references in the song that I want to tell you about. There's a reference to something about a peg leg. As the tale goes, there was a man who you would meet along the riverbank, and he only had one leg. One of his legs was a piece of wood, or one of his, what do they call it, an artificial limb or whatever. And this man knew the way across a mountain pass when the Tombigbee would end, and you had to find this guy, and he would get you across over to the Tennessee River, something like that. But anyway, but can you imagine having to leave, let's say, in December, I'm just picking a date here, let's say it was December 1850. You had to leave in December 1850 in order to cross. You had to be on that Tombigbee riverbank in southwestern, it's near Mobile. It comes off Mobile Bay, wherever it is, southeastern Alabama. You had to hit that riverbank in December of the year before the December that you would eventually cross the river, the Ohio River. So it's a whole year passage. That's not an easy journey. This is called Follow the Drinking Gourd. When the sun comes back and the first quail calls, follow the drinking gourd. There's an old man waiting to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd. Follow the drinking gourd. Follow the drinking gourd. There's an old man who's waiting to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd. Well, the riverbed makes a mighty fine road. Follow the drinking gourd. It's left foot, peg foot, carrying on. Follow the drinking gourd. Follow the drinking gourd. Follow the drinking gourd. There's an old man who's waiting to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd. Well, the river dance between two hills, follow the drinking gourd. There's another river on the other side, follow the drinking gourd. Follow the drinking gourd. Oh, follow the drinking gourd. There's an old man who's waiting to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd. There's an old man who's waiting to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd. There's an old man who's waiting to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd. There's an old man who's waiting to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd. There's an old man who's waiting to carry you to freedom. Follow the drinking gourd. Follow, follow, follow the drinking gourd. Yeah. Well, talk about patience and faith. Two things that are make sense with a Sunday morning broadcast. The individual had to have faith that he or she was going in the correct direction, even when the stream curved south. And you might think for a second, I'm headed back into the hell that I left. But you have one beacon. You have that one objective. You have that directive that somebody has given you, that touchstone, and it's always up there. And in the case of the song, it's the North Star. And yes, you may meander but one has faith because other people have taken this journey, and one has faith because last night you were going in the general right, correct direction. So having faith, in my opinion, a very important component of having faith is looking backwards and saying, what have I done up to this point? There's a contemporary way of looking at life, it seems, and it's very prevalent in the business mindset of don't look back, just look forward. And I get that. That's always been a little hard for me, but and maybe that's why haven't made tons of money in my life, but or I'll say it this way: I've had some nice payouts at times through music, and sometimes they weren't so good. My point is, I did not. My North Star, my drinking gourd, was not making money. My North Star was music, and almost every major decision in my life has been made with it in mind that I had to protect that gift. And that's all I will say. We all have a North Star. I can't tell you what yours is, but I do believe that we know what our North Star is. And for some, it's just family. My grandmother was, her life was family. Her life was me, my brother, her daughter, etc. And that was fine with her. That wouldn't have been enough for me, I don't think, and probably why I never had children. But anyway, good morning. It's Walter Parks coming to you live from the studio in downtown Asheville, North Carolina, a town I dearly love. I've got family connections here. My grandfather was the station master of the Swannanoa station for the Southern Railroad, and he was given an award, which I found out about. There was a little museum there still is a museum in Black Mountain, North Carolina, and they had an exhibit of items from my I said grandfather, but my great-grandfather was a station master of the Swannanoa station. And he was given an award in, come to think of it, around the same time that these headphones were made. And while I'm talking to you, I'm going to look this up. So this is real live radio here, and I'm gonna look up the exact date. But anyway, the story is he was a man who placed high value on aesthetics, and I usually keep this on my desktop. Of course, it's probably not going to be here now. Oh darn! After all this. Anyway, there was a Southern Railroad had a little newspaper that they circulated to all their employees, and he was a man who did not just run a train station that would process people's baggage, get them on the right train to Charlotte or wherever they were going. He kept a very neat station. Everything was functional and was aesthetically pleasing. And he won the award in the whole Southern Railroad system for the most aesthetically pleasing train station. And the headline of the article was Agent Parks and His Flowers. And he had all these tulips out. And it was, if you go out to where Beacon Blankets used to be in Swannanoa, and you go up near the railroad tracks, you'll see a foundation, and that's where the train station used to be. It's not there any longer. But I thought that if I ever have the need to name another music group, my group is now called Swamp Cabbage. But if for some reason I start another group up and I need a band name for it, I'm going to call it Agent Parks and His Flowers. And it'll be a great name. And of course I'll have to have flowers, but that'll be fantastic. Or maybe the band members will just be the flowers. And so, I just thought, and you know, here I am in my polka dotted shirt, and I'm singing this swampy music that came from a time of great turmoil and distress, and yet I'm sitting here in a tuxedo, and to me it all goes together. I mean it respectfully when I play a song that came from the slave story and the slave times. What I hope to be doing is I'm sharing the plight. I'm sharing also the success of the endurance that these folks had to have, and I'm sharing the success of the faith, because they had faith that when they left in December, they would be able to walk across that Ohio River, as was told to them by their friends, because there had been successes. There had been successes from the past, and they took a gamble on faith that they would be able to walk across that river around the vicinity of Paducah, Kentucky, and go into Illinois. But anyway, let's move on to the present. This is a song that my buddy Rob Curto and I wrote. Rob sent me, or he didn't send it to me. He posted on Facebook a little melody of him playing accordion. I don't know if you're listening today, Rob, but Rob is I feel very fortunate to be traveling from time to time with Rob, and I'm gonna. There are some things I want to say, but I have to be mindful of the time because I normally give about an hour and a half show, but today I'm going to keep it tight to 1 hour. And I've played one song so far, and that's not very. I'm way behind. So let me get in tune. So right when the COVID hit, I had a gig booked in Pennsylvania, and we were not sure. We couldn't get in touch with the promoter, and I was in St. Louis at the time. We had escaped from New York to find safety for ourselves, but also to take care of my wife's parents in St. Louis. But yet before the COVID, I had booked this gig in Pennsylvania. So I just headed out, and we couldn't get in touch with the guys. It turned out that the gig ended up being closed, or the venue was closed, and the gig just didn't happen. But there were no letters on the theater marquee, and I thought that's a real bad sign. But it's going to be a metaphor for the COVID times in terms of live entertainment, and so the lyrics to this song just started to roll forth. And so this is called the Theater Marquee, and it's as yet unrecorded. I've only played it once or twice, and let's see how I do. Woo. Well, they're missing letters on the theater marquee, nothing where my name should be. I'll be playing for Lord only knows. Hell, I just suppose I have traveled against the prophecy. Chances will mean the death of me. I traveled for Lord only knows. Hell, I just suppose I play for one guarantee. Certain uncertainty. When I fall, I go on with the show. So I play where I must, until gold or until I bust. For Lord only knows, hell, I just suppose. Gonna play until the crown she catches me. Ain't gonna ask for mercy. I'll play until Lord only knows, hell, I just suppose. I'm gonna live until the living bury me. Two on the way can carry me. I live until Lord only knows, hell, I just suppose. Ain't no lights on no stage. Hold a candle up to my babe. She shines through highs and through lows. She says play where you must, until gold or until we bust. For Lord only knows, hell, we just suppose. You think this something? We ain't seen nothing. This ain't slavery, starvation. This ain't war. Has the crown of creation come down on this nation that is too great to fall or ignore? on no stage, hold a candle up to my babe. She shines through highs and through lows. She says play where you must, until gold or until we bust. For Lord only knows, hell we just suppose. Now they've written letters on the theater marquee. Sorry, closed indefinitely. I'll be waiting for Lord only knows. Hell, I just suppose. The theater marquee. I wrote that with Rob Curto, a fantastic accordion player. Check him out online. If you'd like to know more about my music or get a little bit of it, I have a website, walterparks.com, and you can find many, many ways into my reality, for better or for worse. There are stories from the road. There's kind of elaborate on my perspective of the artistic process, and every couple of weeks or so I put up a new story. And but you know, people come to the western North Carolina mountains for the foliage, and there's nary a place to park in downtown Asheville, and you have to. This is the one time of the year where things get hectic, almost the same way they do in New York City or something, and everything's a scramble. It took me about 20 minutes to get this little cup of coffee this morning, for instance, and I won't go into why, but finding a parking place is an ordeal, and it's all because people are here to look at the foliage, and they're eager to get out into the wilderness. And I've spent the last 3 days up near a place called Waya Bald in the Nantahala National Forest, and coming down from Waya Bald, I drove towards Franklin, North Carolina, and I was treated to those church signs. You know, those small southern churches all have these words of wisdom out on those signs, those portable trailer kind of signs. Sometimes they're portable signs, sometimes they're fixed. And the one that I liked the most was, since this is Sunday morning, this is appropriate. It says, "Fall for Jesus, he never leaves." I love that. Fall for Jesus, he never leaves. And there was another one that had a pumpkin sitting on top of it, and there was an old hunched up black cat next to it. This is a church a couple of miles down the way. Once again, approaching Franklin, and my gas tank, by the way, was on empty. But since I coasted all the way down from Waya Bald, by the time I saw these church signs, I was never happier to see such a church sign. Normally they irritate me a little bit, but this one, I could tell I was going to be able to coast into a gas station in Franklin somewhere, and this one said, "If Satan offers you a treat, it's a trick." And I just love that one. If Satan offers you a treat, it's a trick. And you know, it had a black cat on top of it and a pumpkin face. And here was the best one of all, that this one actually irritated me. It said, "Vote biblical values." Vote biblical values. And I thought, well, if we do that, now I'm not going to talk to you any more about politics than just to reveal that, but I guess they mean vote for the candidate who is the most compassionate, who seems the most Jesus-like. And I'll just leave it at that, since we're talking about the leaves. Oh, this one goes out to my new friend Davine, and this is not a church song, but it kind of is, because there are certain things we cherish, and she cherishes it. I could tell that from getting to know her. and seeing the space that she lives in. And she cherishes it, and I cherish it. I speak French. French has been something that has been my pastime since I was a young man. And I want to share this with you because in the realm that is teaching, and we teach every day, whether or not we're in a classroom or we're teaching a young person or we're teaching a friend, we're teaching other people through our actions. And they observe the way we live and the way we get through life. And it's infectious, it's contagious, and I'm talking here about passion. When I took French in Lakeshore Junior High School in Jacksonville, Florida, I was in the 7th grade or 8th grade or whatever, my teacher had such contagious passion for that language that she just sold it to me. She didn't sell it to me by selling it to me. She sold it to me by essentially how much better her life was made by the speaking of French and the study of it. So I just got on board. So whatever it is you believe in, whatever it is you enjoy doing, show it. Don't keep it to yourself. Show it. If it's important to you, it might be important, and it will certainly better other people's lives. Not everybody, but the people to whom it will mean something. And I could tell that this particular location meant something to Davy. Here's my little thank you. Whoops, I gotta get in the right tuning here. I love Paris in the springtime. I love Paris in the fall. I love Paris in the winter when it drizzles. I love Paris in the summer when it sizzles. I love Paris every moment, every moment of the year. I love Paris. Why, oh, why do I love Paris? Because my Paris in the fall. Ooh, I love Paris in the winter when it drizzles. I love Paris in the summer when it sizzles. I love Paris every moment, every moment of the year. I love Paris. Why do I love Paris? Because my love is there. Ooh, because my love is there. She's there. My love is there. She's there. C'est in Paris aussi. Okay, and one of these days I want to do a whole one of these radio shows in French, or maybe I'll have to do it at a different time so the French people can hear it live. And they're going to have a field day with me correcting my bad French, but that's going to all be part of the whole thing. I've got about 10 minutes left to be with you here, and I'm going to play one more song. But I do want to say, you know, we were up in the mountains, way up high, 5,000 feet and higher, filming, and we were amidst the beauty of course, the changing colors and the panoramas and views of other ranges, the Smokies and so on and so forth. Different national forests. We could see everything and we could feel everything and smell everything, and yet we were fascinated by the monitors that we were looking at. Those little monitors that reduced nature down to just about this size. And there was something, why is it that we were more compelled by the images that were coming through that movie camera than we were with what was surrounding us on Wyabald up in the Nantahala forest? And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it because by the time humankind gets a hold of nature in that way, in an artistic way, I think what we're doing is we're walking respectfully hand in hand with nature. We might be obsessed with our work, and to that extent, we probably feel like, okay, we're partners with God or the universe or whatever that is. We deserve a seat at this table because what we've created here is beautiful. And it is beautiful. And the fact is, we are not bettering nature. We're just doing our own version of it. And I think that's what art is. A young man on the set said to me when I asked him, I said, what kind of films do you do on the side? He was a, what they call a best boy or one of the grip. I don't even know what best boy means. Somebody let us know, write us. But his passion was film. So he made movies on his own. And he says, well, I just try to document what's there. I don't add to anything. It's just, I just try to capture what's there. And I said, oh, really? I said, I've actually seen one of your films. As a matter of fact, I'm going to remind you that we worked together at one point. And the film that I saw that you did was a wonderful black and white piece. It had this marvelous contrast to it. And it had this sort of otherworldly feel to it. And I said to him, I said, you know, I don't recall that living room being in black and white. And I don't recall that living room having that wonderful contrast and seeing the fireplace have this sort of phantom-like glow to it. And I said, you did that. I said, so don't give me this BS that you just document nature, you just document what's there, and you just pay attention to the technology so that you can document it accurately. I said, you created a work of art because you interpreted what was there. You didn't document anything. Who wants documentation? If, and I understood this when I looked at the photography of Ansel Adams. And wherever he took those pictures out in the deserts of California or wherever, it is not what I see with my naked eye. And that is interpretation. And that is walking hand in hand. That is having a deserved seat at the table with God or the universe or whoever, Allah, whoever, whatever you want to call it. That is saying, I respect your work, but here's my version of it. And this is my version because of the resources that I've been given and I've been blessed with. And I've used my resources to try to give you my version of the wonder that has been created. So anyway, that's my little speech on art. I'm going to leave you with this one more song. This is a spiritual as well. Got about 5 minutes. You've been listening to Walter Parks, It's Me. I do a Sunday service. It's a service to me and hopefully a service to you as well, because I love thinking about these things. And thank you, Davine, for inviting me to be here. This is the first time I've ever sat at a radio control and done my show live. You all grab a coffee after this and have a nice espresso and think of us and tune in to me every Sunday morning. 10 o'clock Eastern, you can find me, 9 o'clock Central. And when I'm in this area, I hope you'll have me back and I can come back. I feel it's a little bit like home, but I'm getting ready to drive to New York, and this just feels appropriate because crossing water, which I will do when I cross the Hudson River, I'll actually go underneath it, is going to be what happens, how I have to get to that area. And it's also crossing a body of water is a big part of our national story. So this is an old slave spiritual as well, and I'll leave you with this one. This is going to be out on my record that's coming out soon called The Unlawful Assembly, and Margot can tell you about that as well. Thank you. Check my music out at walterparks.com, and we always appreciate y'all's support. Thank you so much. Weed in the water, weed in the water, children, weed in the water. God's gonna trouble the water, yeah. In my time of dying, I don't want nobody to cry. All I want you to do for me is to close my dying eyes. Wait in the water, wait in the water, children. God's gonna trouble the water. Oh, when I get into the glory, I'm gonna reach out and take my mama's hand. I'm gonna tell her all about the troubles I'm facing all across the land. Oh, weed in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the above the water. Wade in the water. Wade in the water till Thank you for listening.